Imagine being held captive for more than 20 years, then while you sit there and realize that no one is coming to save you, you set the house on fire and you're finally free. That's exactly what happened to now a 32-year-old man who was held captive in his room since the age 11. When he was found by police, he was extremely malnourished, weighing only 68 pounds, which is insane for a 32-year-old. It was said that at one point he attended school like a normal kid, but then he was pulled out and he was homeschooled, but eventually he just never left the house again.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scary and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below. Greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 75% of people have a deviated septum, and this is a condition in which the bone and cartilage that divide the nose in half are crooked, making one nasal passage smaller than the other, and it's known to cause nosebleeds, problems breathing, or loud breathing when you're sleeping. Less than 1% of people have an extra finger crease, and it's also called camptodactyly, and it's just when you have an extra little ridge on your fingers, and it is most common on your pinky. Less than 1% of people have an eyeball scar. This is also called a macular pucker, and it's just scar tissue that forms in your eye, and it's known to cause blurred or distorted vision, and it's caused when the vitreous, which is the gel-like part of your eye, starts to pull away from the retina. Less than 1% of people can hear colors or see sounds. For example, this could happen as soon as someone hears a sound, they automatically see the color red, or as soon as they read a word, a certain color pops into their mind. About 33% of people experience motion sickness, and this 33% are highly susceptible to motion sickness, while the rest just experience it in extreme conditions. And it's caused when your brain starts to get signals from your body that it's moving, but they're mismatched and don't match up.
You were today years old when you found this out. When you see an alligator's head popping out of the water, they're not floating, they're actually standing up. If you're ever in an elevator and someone pushes all the buttons, just press each button twice to avoid going to those floors. I was today years old when I realized Toad from Mario isn't actually a mushroom, it's just a hat. The flap on your fries box actually has a purpose. You can put your sauce there to dip your fries in. Did you know there's actually a use for the back of the toothbrush? It's supposed to be used to clean your tongue. Okay, there are giant clouds in space filled with alcohol. And I was today years old when I realized that Subway Surfers was a game a dad created in memory of his son that died while skating in the train tracks.
Wow, I never knew that about Subway Surfers. That's an OG game.
Morbid Facts, Part 6. This photo from 1954 shows two little Australian boys playing in a sandbox full of asbestos. This was during a time when very little was known about the effects of asbestos on humans, as both boys eventually died from mesothelioma before the age of 40. Archaeologists working at the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, Italy, uncovered the remains of a 30-year-old man who appeared to have survived the initial eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, only to be killed when he was struck by a large slab of stone. The lowest form of accommodation in Victorian England was a place where you could dangle over a rope overnight for the price of a penny. For centuries, the feet of Chinese women were tightly bound from a young age as part of a traditional custom, causing the breaking and bending of the toe and foot bones. This resulted in extremely disfigured feet that resembled the hooves of animals. In 1963, two criminal scammers in Mexico convinced an entire village that they were prophets and demanded tribute and worship. They soon paid prostitute Magdalena Solis to imitate an Incan goddess as part of the scam. Suffering from religious delusion, she started to genuinely believe that she was a goddess. Magdalena soon took over the village and started sacrificing her followers and drinking their blood.
So it turns out the Annabelle doll was not missing, was never going to Chicago, and is supposedly back home where she belongs in the Warrens Museum.
Annabelle is not missing. Annabelle is back home in the museum.
And that's all according to Ryan, who's either the new owner or the new caretaker of the Annabelle doll, who decided to take her on tour, even saying in his video that they are going to continue the tour. They're just not going to disclose where they're going yet. But you would think after this happened, and 10 prisoners escaping around the same time, we should want to keep her where she's supposed to be. But I don't see how the narrative is fake that she went missing. It was absolutely everywhere, meaning that all of these other places that had it posted were just lying. Or were they? Because I personally think that she did go missing. I personally think that she was stolen and they were able to get her back. Or they're just not telling us something. Because this narrative would never have gone so big if there was an immediate response. Which, like I said, gets me to think that something definitely happened on the way back to bringing her to the Warrens Museum. Now look, like I said, the last place she was supposed to be was in Texas, and that was a couple days ago. And supposedly her Heiress World Tour is going to continue after she takes a little bit of a pit stop back at the Warrens Museum. I don't trust it.
Neither do I. I think, like you said, I think she really did go missing. They just managed to get her back. Because everybody was talking about that. All that stuff happening too. That wasn't a coincidence. Couldn't be.
Imagine being held captive for more than 20 years, but then while you sit there and realize that no one is coming to save you, you set the house on fire and you're finally free. That's exactly what happened to now a 32-year-old man who was held captive in his room since the age 11. When he was found by police, he was extremely malnourished, weighing only 68 pounds, which is insane for a 32-year-old. It was said that at one point he attended school like a normal kid, but then he was pulled out and he was homeschooled, but eventually he just never left the house again. So on February 17th at approximately 8:42 p.m., 56-year-old Kimberly Sullivan called police and said that her house was on fire. When police arrived, they found a 32-year-old man in horrible living conditions, and he told police that he intentionally set his bedroom on fire because he's been held captive since he was 11 and wanted to be free. He then said that his father, who died a year ago, let him out of the room for longer periods of time, but after his death, it was just him and his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan. He told police that DSF visited the home when he was a child after people were concerned over his weight and that he was stealing food and eating things out of the garbage. But at the time when DSF spoke to him, he said that he was forced to say that everything was fine because his stepmom and father threatened to not feed him. Kimberly was arrested, but she pleaded not guilty, and her defense as of right now is that she has nothing to do with this and it was all her husband who passed away. Now, the worst part, which really pissed me off, is that this woman was released on bail. She's wearing an ankle monitor, but she's out. She's walking free after this man endured so much abuse for the last 20 years.
I have an update on the model in Dubai that was found on the side of the road with her spine and limbs broken near a construction site. Ukrainian authorities have now launched a sex trafficking probe into Dubai, trying to figure out if she was sex trafficked. That's what they believe happened to her so far. She was there for modeling. She's an OF model, so they believe that the two men kind of coerced her to come there so they could traffic her. Dubai police are saying her injuries are a result of a fall from the construction site. Maybe the men took her up there and then pushed her off. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's a cover-up. Last time I talked about her a week or two ago, she underwent 3 operations to save her life. She just went under a 4th one, and she's now in stable condition instead of critical condition. A lot of people thought she was at a porta potty event. For those that don't know what that is, buckle up when I tell you this. A porta potty event is when IG influencers get invited to Dubai to undergo basically like humiliation. Wealthy men basically will buy out somebody to humiliate them. They'll do whatever. It's really disgusting. That made headlines about a year ago. That's not confirmed if she was at that kind of event or not, but it is speculated. No suspects have been identified right now, but I will keep you guys updated as the probe and investigation continues. What are your opinions on this story?
That's crazy that somebody would literally buy a person just to humiliate them. The porta potty event? I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole. That sounds disturbing.
It's the world's most immoral bird. It's the cuckoo bird, and you're gonna hate them after what I'm gonna tell you. Cuckoo birds abandon their eggs in the nests of other birds in hopes that they will fool them into raising the cuckoo bird as one of their own, and they never come back.
Daddy.
And cuckoo birds know it can be suspicious if there's just an extra egg sitting in the nest when the mother bird comes back, so that's why they'll normally grab one and throw it out of the nest so there's the same amount. And you're probably thinking, well, won't it be obvious the egg will just be different looking, a different color, different size? Nope. Cuckoos have the ability to mimic the color and pattern of their host's eggs like these. So when the mother, the host, comes back to the nest, they don't suspect anything. And it gets crazier. The cuckoo egg hatches before the other eggs because of science reasons I'm not going to get into. And this is important because when the baby's born, when the mother goes out of the nest, the baby bird just being born will put the other eggs on its back and push them out of the nest so it is the only one left. And the goal is to claim all of the food and attention for itself, and when the mother comes back to the nest, it will continue to raise it and feed it as one of its own, even though it's a little bit bigger than the mother.
This is one of the saddest stories
chick.
I've ever heard. This is Maryanne Beavenon. The world labeled her as the ugliest woman in the world, but no one ever stopped to ask who she really was. She was just a mother, fighting to survive. Mary was once a nurse in England. She was a beautiful woman, but everything changed after her husband, Thomas Beavenon, died in 1914. Soon after, she began to show signs of a rare condition called acromegaly, a disorder that caused her face and body to grow and distort painfully. People were staring at her all the time. Even the doctors weren't able to help. She had no money, she had no help, and she had to feed 4 of her children. Mary entered a contest, the Ugliest Woman in the World contest, and she won. Not out of pride, out of necessity. After that, she joined a circus to make some money. She stood on stage and she was laughed at. She was mocked, but she held it in. She endured it, all of it, because all the money she made went to her children. Mary endured cruelty for her children's future. Maryanne Beavenon was never ugly. She was brave, and her sacrifice was the most beautiful thing about her.
Let's see if you have arachnophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. Try your best to make it through all 5. Let's start the test. First one. Here's another. Feeling uneasy?
I'm cool.
Keep going. Last one. So how did you do? Did you make it through all 5? If not, then you could have arachnophobia, which is the fear of spiders. Let me know if you have arachnophobia in the comments below. Hit the plus sign and follow me to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
I'm cool, but we still don't mess with spiders. That's a no. Yeah, I know we don't do spiders over here, man. I'm cool watching them on video, but in person, no.
Fascinating facts that
in May of 1979, David Booth, an office worker from Ohio, experienced a series of vivid nightmares over 10 consecutive nights. In these dreams, he saw a large American Airlines jet attempting to take off on a bright sunny day. As the plane accelerated down the runway, he sensed that something was wrong with the engine's sound. Suddenly, the aircraft lifted off, banked sharply, and crashed into a fiery explosion, leaving him overwhelmed with a profound sense of despair. Troubled by the reoccurring nature of these dreams, Booth contacted the FAA to report his concerns. He spoke with Jack Barker, the FAA's public affairs director, who found Booth to be sincere and coherent. However, without specific details like a flight number or an exact location, there was little the FAA could do. On May 25th, 1979, American Airlines Flight 191 crashed shortly after takeoff from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. The left engine separated from the wing, causing the aircraft to lose control and crash, killing all 271 people on board and 2 individuals on the ground. The crash mirrored the sequence of events that Booth had described in his nightmare. This tragic accident remains the deadliest aviation accident in U.S. history. Booth's experience has since been cited in discussions about precognitive phenomenon and the mysteries of the human consciousness.
You were taught that you probably still believe. Number 1, that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. While cracking your knuckles might sound and look damaging, it does not cause arthritis. That loud pop that you hear when you crack your knuckles is caused by bubbles bursting in your synovial fluid, and the bubbles pop when you pull the bones apart. Blood in your veins is blue. If you look down at your arm, you can probably see your veins and see they look blue. However, your blood is not actually blue in your veins. Blood is either red or dark red, but never blue. Your veins look blue because of your skin. Blue light does not penetrate human tissue as deeply as red light does, and as a result, veins that are close to the surface of the skin will be more likely to reflect blue light back to your eyes. You can hear the sound of the ocean in shells. This is a myth. The sound you hear when you put a shell against your ear has nothing to do with it being from the ocean. It's actually part of the background noise around you, just turned up a little bit by the shell. So if you're next to the ocean, the shell picks up the sound of the ocean, the alpha wolf. There's actually no such thing as an alpha wolf. This idea was brought about in a paper from the 1970s, but the author later said in a paper that he rejected the idea of an alpha wolf. While it's true that multiple wolves who share a small space in captivity will develop alpha and beta-like hierarchies, wild wolves behave nothing like this. In the wild, a wolf pack is typically formed by monogamous parents and their puppies, and the wolf pack is basically a tightly knit family consisting of parents or breeders and their offspring, not an alpha and beta.
Insane things happening right now. Reportedly, the Menendez brothers could be out of jail within 2 weeks now. Now, this has, of course, been going on for some time now. They said they'd be home before Thanksgiving, and it didn't happen. But representation and the hearings are set to start, so it could happen soon. This Air Force veteran has come forward with claims that he helped retrieve a UFO by the US government. Said he saw these crazy bright lights and then was ordered to, well, retrieve it. The story's just breaking, but I'll keep you posted. Now, this is insane, but classified CIA documents have come out that stated back in the 1900s, people traveled to Mars using astral projection. I mean, I don't even know what to say about those headlines, it's mad. In the UK, a new digital ID is set to come into place. Set to introduce digital IDs, taking away the physical cards that you carry around and putting it onto a government server. A woman was left screaming in immense pain after leaving a you-know-what toy inside her during an MRI scan. Her, along with many other people, have now issued warnings to not do this, but I mean, why would you?
Here are the weirdest and most unbelievable creatures to ever wash up on the beach, part 2. First, in 2016, a group of fishermen stumbled across this huge 176-pound smelly thing that looked a lot like a rock. At first, they didn't think much of it, but shockingly, it was actually whale vomit, which is used to formulate luxury fragrances. Which means whale vomit can be sold at very high prices. This 176-pound chunk of the stuff was valued at $3 million.
Damn.
Next, in July of 2018, this creature that looks like a demon was found washed up on the shores of Montauk, New York. Supposedly, the creepy-looking carcass for some reason wasn't available for autopsy as it was carted away by an unknown group of people. Many have speculated it might be the mutant product of experimentation at the controversial Plum Island Animal Disease Center, which is near where the creature
lives with his dog, who is really just a man in a dog suit. Let's talk about the movie Good Boy. The film starts off with a guy named Christian and his dog. Obviously, this is not a real dog, and it's just a guy who dresses up as one. Christian is on a dating app hoping to meet someone, and that's when he comes across a girl named Sigrid. Once they're on their date, it seems like they're hitting it off pretty well. Sigrid is in school to become a psychologist, and Christian is just rich. They end up going back to Christian's home, which was inherited by his parents. They end up being intimate with each other, and Christian's dog is just watching. The next morning, Sigrid wakes up after spending the night and sees the dog just staring at them. She ends up freaking out and just leaving. She ends up telling her friend about this awful experience, and her friend convinces her to give him another chance since he's rich. When she goes back to see Christian, she is formally introduced to his dog, Frank. He tells her that she must treat him as a dog at all times or something bad can happen. Frank is going all crazy, like jumping on Sigrid, and Christian is feeling embarrassed. Christian was his only friend growing up, and he wanted to be there for him for whatever he wanted to do. The three end up going on a cabin trip, and Sigrid is told to give up her phone because she's on it too much. Once Christian leaves the room, Frank tells Sigrid that they need to leave because Christian is actually crazy. Sigrid and Frank end up going on a walk alone, and they are trying to come up with a plan to leave. The only thing that Sigrid can do is attack Christian while he's asleep, or they will be stuck. Christian gives Sigrid a drink which is spiked, and it causes her to pass out. Once she wakes up, Christian plays her an audio, and it's her talking with Frank about a plan to escape. Frank then bites Christian, and Sigrid attempts to take the keys. She is unable to escape, so she goes back to Frank and Christian and hits Christian with a stick. He ends up doing the same thing to her, and she passes out with Frank. Some time goes on, and Frank is in a cage, and Christian is giving him food. Cut to Sigrid, and she is in a completely different room. She's dressed as a dog and acting like a dog. As Christian is preparing food, he places it on the floor, and a child dressed in a fuzzy onesie crawls to it. The end.
People Who Mysteriously Disappeared with No Explanation Part 3. On October 21st, 1978, Australian pilot Frederick Valentic was flying over Australia's Bass Strait when he radioed in that an unidentified flying object was following him. According to the transcript, the UFO was tracking him, stopped in midair, and then vanished. His last transmission was, "It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft," followed by white noise. No trace of Valentic or his plane were ever discovered. In July of 1916, Hungarian police raided the home of a man named Bela Kiss while he was serving in World War I. To their horror, the team found the bodies of 24 women, all with puncture wounds on their necks and their blood drained, which led many to believe that Kiss was a vampire. On October 4th, investigators tracked the killer to a Serbian hospital, only to find on their arrival that he'd vanished and a dead soldier in the bed where he'd recently been in.
Morbid Facts, Part 8. This photo from 1904 shows a rubber worker from the Belgian Congo staring at the severed hands and feet of his 5-year-old daughter. She was brutally murdered because he failed to meet his quota for the day. When Japan executes criminals by hanging, 3 different buttons on the wall are pressed by 3 different people at the same time. This is so that none of them know who actually did the killing, since only one button is randomly programmed to open the trap door. In 2008, a Brazilian priest strapped 1,000 balloons onto a lawn chair and rode it into the sky as part of a fundraiser. He was able to reach an altitude of 20,000 feet before losing contact with authorities. Over a month later, the lower half of his body was found floating near an oil rig. In 1958, North Carolina, a white girl told her parents that she kissed 2 black boys aged 7 and 9 on the cheeks. The girl's father then arranged a mob to the boys' homes where they threatened to lynch them and their parents. Soon enough, police showed up and proceeded to arrest and severely beat the young boys themselves. Charged with rape, they were confined for 6 days without being able to contact their parents. The boys spent 4 months in prison before finally being pardoned by the governor. It's infamously known as the kissing case of 1958.
Just by a kiss on the cheek. Man, those are some dark times. They ain't even do anything. You're not alone? Somebody watching you?
After hearing this story, I'll guarantee you'll check a specific place in your house tonight before you go to sleep. A Japanese man lived alone in the sleepy town of Kasuya, started noticing that small amounts of food from around his house were going missing. He was convinced that it was a burglar. Every night before bed, he checked that the doors and windows were locked, but still his food was disappearing. Now confused and frustrated, he installed security cameras to catch the burglar in the act and find out how they were getting into his home. What he saw when he checked the footage the next day is shocking. The cameras showed a 58-year-old woman he didn't know opening his fridge door and stealing food. He immediately checked all the doors and windows, all still locked. Then he realised she wasn't breaking in, she was already in the house. In a panic, he phoned the police. They searched his house from top to bottom. An officer slid open a wardrobe to find a homeless woman living on the top shelf of his closet, and from the look of it, she'd been there for several months.
What do you imagine the fairy tale character Rapunzel would look like? This actress received racist backlash online after rumors spread she'd be playing the princess. Some argue that the part should be played by a European actress because it's a European story. The story rose to popularity after being published in 1812 by German folklorists, but was believed to have been based on earlier stories from France and Italy. Some researchers believe that the story may have been derived from pre-Christian European beliefs, as the maiden in tower archetype seems to have been present across a range of cultures. Examples include the Greek myth of Danae, who was imprisoned in a bronze tower, or the Baltic goddess Sholay, who was also held in a tower by a king. Seeing that the maiden in a tower archetype has existed in multiple Indo-European speaking cultures, we should also acknowledge that the Indo-European speaking world extends past the borders of Europe and well into Asia. This is important because it seems that the earliest documented tale of a maiden in a tower that also features her letting down her hair to her savior comes from Persia. In the famous Persian epic known as Shahnameh, a princess by the name of Rudabah is trapped in a tower and lets down her hair to assist her savior in climbing up. Of course, I'm not implying that Rapunzel is a rip-off of Rudaba, but rather that all these tales may have a common place of origin, perhaps tracing back to the Proto-Indo-Europeans.
Her mom sold her to be used for a ritual. 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith was from South Africa and was always known to have a beautiful smile on her face. On February 19th of 2024, Jocelyn was not feeling well, and instead of her mom Kelly staying home to take care of her, she left her alone with her boyfriend Jochen. By the time Kelly arrived home, Jocelyn was missing. Now Kelly didn't seem worried at all. She continued with her day as normal and even went on a trip a couple days later. Neighbors in the area were worried and searching for Jocelyn, while Kelly, on the other hand, was completely chill and didn't have a care in the world. People in the local community started talking and found out that Kelly sold Jocelyn. She had sold her to a traditional healer in South Africa known as a Sangoma, and they wanted her for her eyes and skin. Jocelyn's body parts would be used in rituals in return for money. A local pastor had testified that he had once heard Kelly talking about selling Jocelyn for $1,100 but would go down to $275 if she needed to. Kelly, her boyfriend Jochen, and a friend named Savino were all arrested in connection to Jocelyn's disappearance. In May of 2025, the three were all found guilty, and even though there was no evidence, the testimonies is what did it, and the three were sentenced to life in prison. When they got their sentence, Kelly was shedding some tears, and their friend Stavino was smiling and had no remorse whatsoever. To this day, Jocelyn's body has not been recovered.
Monster, man. How you gonna smile after what just went down? People who don't have no remorse are one of the most dangerous people in the world.
She put her 28-year-old infant in the microwave after a heated argument with her boyfriend. The argument was concerning the child's paternity, and she ended the child's life because of this. This happened all the way back in 2005, and China Arnold was responsible for this. Medical evidence suggested the baby's internal temperature reached over 107 degrees. There were no external injuries or burns outside, so this was just microwave radiation, just heating the body up from the inside out. And this is even worse than an external burn, obviously. It goes straight inside of you, it boils you alive from the inside out. Arnold's defense claimed that she was intoxicated, and then they also tried to claim there was like third-party factors here that impacted her decision and everything like that. But the jury did not buy it, the judge did not buy it at all. They sentenced her to life without parole in 2011. And apparently, while she was in prison after she got sentenced, she told a cellmate that she put the baby in the microwave to kill it because she was worried her boyfriend would hurt her or break up with her if he found out it wasn't his. This is just such a sickening story. I don't know how people could live like this. What are your opinions on this story? This happened in Ohio.
Morbid Facts, Part 10. When 13-year-old Ryan White got AIDS from a blood donor in 1984, he was only given 6 months to live. Even though doctors said he posed absolutely zero risk to other students, Ryan was banned from returning to school by a petition signed by 117 parents. An auction was even held to raise funds to keep him out, and a local newspaper that supported him received death threats. The family had no other choice but to leave town when a bullet was shot through the window of their home. Ryan outlived the doctor's diagnosis by 5 years, dying at the age of 19. In 2009, Moscow native Julia Popova was stabbed in the neck by a mugger. But she was in so much shock that she walked home without even realizing that the knife was embedded in her, just millimeters from her spinal cord. She spent over an hour with the blade in her back before finally going to the hospital. The knife was successfully removed via surgery, and Julia made a full recovery. Dutchman Dirk Willems was a religious prisoner who escaped his execution in 1569. When the guard chasing him fell through the ice in a nearby river, Willems turned around to save him. He was then recaptured and burned at the stake. Your lungs have a total surface area of 750 square feet, meaning if they were opened up and laid flat, they would cover the entire size of a tennis court. In 1977, the drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd, Artemis Pyle, survived the plane crash that killed half the band. He then walked to a nearby house for help, only to be shot by the homeowner. He was apparently startled by the sight of a long-haired, bloody man, and fired a warning shot that hit the drummer in the shoulder. Once Pyle shouted that there was a crash, the farmer helped him and he went on to recover.
I always knew not to believe everything that I see on social media, but this story about this guy who manipulated thousands of women by pretending to be something he wasn't is absolutely insane. I don't know if you guys have heard about this TikToker who created content preaching about healthy relationships and teaching men how to be better partners, and he portrayed himself as being this caring and respectful man. Well, he recently murdered his ex-girlfriend. The crazy part about this story is that I actually know of a woman who was supposed to fly out from Toronto to Miami to meet this man sometime before he took his ex-girlfriend's life. Thank God she didn't go. This guy's name is Joy Chandranath. He's 29 years old, and this happened in Miami, and he stabbed his ex-girlfriend. She was 24 years old, and her name was Maria Camila Garcia Molina, in her car, and apparently her 3-year-old daughter was in the car and saw everything. Her daughter was found wandering alone on the street, and she was covered in her mother's blood, and they later found Maria's body in her car with stab wounds all over. Police arrested this man after Maria's daughter told them that her mother was with Joy and then she fell asleep. Investigators said that Maria had a restraining order against this man when he began stalking her after she ended things in November 2024. Before her death, Maria found an AirTag in her car and she caught this man hiding near her house several times. When they arrested him, he had scratches all over his face, and he also had Maria's phone and purse on him, but he said that she gave it to him that morning. Like I said, I know of someone who met this man on a dating app on Facebook. I guess it's like Facebook dating. And she was supposed to fly out from Toronto to Miami to go meet him, but she completely cut him off before this thing happened, after another girl reached out to her to tell her that he was also talking to her at the same time. And apparently he was talking to so many women at the same time. He was charged with second-degree murder, and he's in the Miami-Dade County Jail, and he has no bond. I think it's very common for people to meet on dating apps nowadays. I mean, I've done it, but it's very important to always be aware and know that there are risks, because you don't know who this person is at the end of the day. People are so unhinged nowadays, and someone can put up this whole facade about themselves on social media or a dating app and you wouldn't even know it. And this is my own personal opinion, but I would never fly out to go meet anyone. I think the risks are a lot higher. You're going to a different country to see someone that you've never seen before. If anything, they're coming here where I feel safe and I have family.
Yep. This one, there's actual proof. One time a guy went to Disneyland and was waiting to ride the roller coaster on Space Mountain. He was standing in line when a guy with red hair came up to him and started talking to him. He seemed nice, but he was a little bit odd. But the thing is, when the ride was over, this red-haired man literally vanished into thin air. The guest reported this incident and was told that he was alone the entire time. This guest might have just encountered a ghost people know as Mr. One Way. Rumor has it that he's the ghost of a man who passed away while on the ride in the 1970s. He always vanishes right before the ride is over, and he likes to talk to people who are riding the roller coaster alone. People have also reported seeing him in the cast member locker rooms. Follow if you want a part 2, because there's so many ghost stories about Disneyland.
This father who murdered his 2 teenage daughters because they started dating finally had his first interview in prison and denied everything and said it was all a conspiracy. I went over this case and his recent interview on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On New Year's in 2008, 18-year-old Sarah Saeed used her last breath to call police and let them know that her dad had just shot her and she was dying. Beside her was her deceased older sister Amina, who was also shot by their father. But this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Growing up, these 2 girls endured a lot of abuse from their father. When they were 7 and 8 years old, they told their mother that their father was essaying them. But eventually nothing happened and the case got dropped. Things only got worse as they got older. Their father became more controlling and perverted. Their father would follow them and take videos of them everywhere they went, especially when they went to work. At one point, he took Amina to Egypt to try to marry her off to an older man, but luckily that didn't go through. But one day, he lost it when he found out that his daughters were dating and he threatened to take their lives. At this point, the girls were fed up, terrified, and decided to run away with their mother. But taking their mother with them wasn't the best decision, because eventually Patricia wanted to go back to Yasser. She then promised Amina and Sarah that nothing would happen if they returned home, but that wasn't the case. The girls were convinced that their father was going to eventually take their lives, so they left a lot of evidence, including emails and letters to teachers about what was going on at home. When they went home, their father offered to take them out to talk and resolve things, but on January 1st, 2008, he shot them multiple times while they sat in the back of his taxi. Yasser fled for 12 years, but now that he's been in prison for 4 years, he still denies taking his daughter's lives. Throughout this recent interview, he gets frustrated and blames the FBI for pinning the murders on him and says that all the evidence against him isn't true.
Toys that saved lives, part 1.
Back in 2016, when a group of kids were outside having a water gun fight, they realized that one of the apartments in their complex caught on fire. So the kids immediately sprung into action and started spraying the flames with their water guns. By the time the fire department arrived, there was no longer a fire. Next, in 2017, when a man got into a nasty argument at home, a young woman pulled out a knife on the man. Well, he grabbed the closest object near him, which was a toy lightsaber. He then somehow was able to fend off several knife attacks thanks to the toy lightsaber. Finally, from a story in 2020, a young girl was playing with a toy car outside when a wild raccoon came out of nowhere and lunged at the girl. Well, the girl then threw her toy car directly at the raccoon, distracting the raccoon long enough so she can run inside safely.
I think the one that got to me is, man, the man who freaking took the lightsaber and turned into a whole freaking Jedi demon, bro. Like, fitted off 7 knives attacks, man, with the freaking lightsaber. Must have been practicing that, bro, when he was a kid. It came in handy. That's the edit. She threw that. Definitely.
Real Disney Ghost Stories, sent in by you guys, part 1. These Disneyland cast members wish to remain anonymous, but here are some stories about the little girl who haunts California Adventure. When I worked in Disney California Adventure, we would sometimes see a little girl and she would show up in the bakery tour alone. And usually by the time we figured out she was alone, she's gone. We asked another cast in the bakery and they said she comes by every now and then and wanders all the way to Little Mermaid. Before Disney California Adventure was built, it was a parking lot and she was hit by a tram, and since then her ghost has haunted the area. It's funny because there's a pattern here. Another cast member wrote to me about this little girl as well in Disney California Adventure. First of all, he says that every land has some sort of ghost. Like every little land in Disneyland has something that haunts it, which is crazy. The ghost I experienced the most and will stay with me is the little girl in the Little Mermaid building. She also likes to walk around on the Grizzly Peak side. She even pulled my keys out of my pocket because I wouldn't respond to her while I was cleaning a restroom and she was pounding a stall door. What? That is so scary. Here's another ghost story about the same girl. Apparently her name is Jennifer. I work at the restaurant on Buena Vista Street in California Adventure. Jennifer is very well known by cast members. She likes to lock the women's restroom doors. She turns candlesticks on the walls upstairs. I've heard a faint scream in the hallway on the 2nd floor. She's pulled my hair a couple times, and she has shown herself to our custodial at 3 a.m. Have you ever had an encounter with this little girl spirit at Disney California Adventure? Let me know in the comments. And keep
an influencer was arrested after flaunting stolen goods to her 300,000 followers on TikTok. 22-year-old Marlena Velez took $500 worth of items to the self-checkout at a Target and scanned them with a fake barcode that listed them at cheaper prices. Police posted surveillance images of Velez online, which led to an anonymous tip to Marlena's socials, where they found her flaunting the items that she'd stolen to her hundreds of thousands of followers. Cops identified and later brought her into custody on charges of petty theft.
43. She has to be one of the most dumbest criminals alive. You're recording yourself 4K doing it and posting it on TikTok for the world to see, and that was an easy lineup for them. When they probably click their social link, they didn't expect it to be that easy, man. People don't have a brain nowadays, bro.
Monkeys have escaped from a biolab research center in South Carolina, and authorities are urging residents to keep their doors and windows securely closed. We really about to have Planet of the Apes. Before it said that their escape was due to human error, with a member of staff failing to lock the doors behind them. And if you were worried, we're about to have Caesar 2.0. Luckily, none of these monkeys have been used in lab testing, and they are too young to carry diseases. Only real problem is that they're freaking hard to catch, because when you chase them, they just scatter. And catching all 43 is gonna take a while.
Find out the apes, bro.
Public school system's failing, and this is proof. Why do we forget about gibbons? Y'all know about gorillas, chimps with a different R rating, and this guy. Gibbons got left behind and left off the great ape's lunch table. Not this time. I said this for gorillas, but gibbons are really a whole walking comedy special without even trying. They're famous for the way they get from A to B, and there's actually a term for this. It's called break-eating. He sure does. It also means they have the most out-of-pocket wingspan nature's ever seen. Yo, it's a good thing they're still alive, because finding a fossil that could jump rope its own skeleton, that Jumanji jump would have put us in another pandemic. There's about 20 strains of this arms longer than a Prohibition tree goblin seasoning the earth, including the white-cheeked gibbon, which definitely isn't venom. Apparently, out of all the apes, they're the only ones that mate for life. Including us. That's right, the throat scroll. Well, it's basically a built-in megaphone meant to amplify their calls. Why do they call? Well, some have a door, some have a gate, but gibbons, nah, they mark territory off straight. Basically, they use it to announce the borders of their turf, and you can hear it a mile out. In fact, gibbon couples will sing duets throughout the day, and sometimes they'll even bring the kids to make it a family matter. Also, if you're curious, for these ones, they're all born golden to, blend in, but they all turn black when they're 6 months old. The males stay that way, but the females revert back to gold when they're older. So you can go back. They're silly, whimsical, tiger bullying branch merchants with more reach than Go-Go Gadget that could, let's be real, probably rip your arm off if they really wanted to. They may not be grade apes, but they are to me.
And then committing the alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened.
So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out, and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok, showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false?
I'm telling you, bro, social media is a mirage, bro. It's not real. It's fake. You set up certain things to look a certain way. Nobody knows the real you behind the camera. It's just the plain truth. Y'all agree with that?
These are videos humans were never meant to see. Okay, so we all know how weird Disney is and all the disturbing secrets they have. Well, this man who was at Disney made a wrong turn at the park and ended up in this secret abandoned place inside Disney. And something about it is completely unsettling. Some people think it's Disney's creepy lair where they do all of their sinister things, and others think it's the back rooms. But just watch how the workers act and watch how scared the man is. Here's the video, and it's super disturbing.
I've been freaking trying to get out of here for the last 10, 15 minutes. No, I was just freaking trying to go to the bathroom, and I found myself in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, freaking, guess. It's my card.
Let me get Carol down.
How did you get back here? I just opened a random door, and next thing you know, I'm in here. What is that? Okay.
This means you get the right person to do it.
Man, talking about stairwell after door after sheesh.
Oh.
What is this place?
Bathrooms?
Whoa. What is this? This big empty area in here. Hello, can you help me out?
Yes,
please.
You're trying to get out of here?
Yes.
He wants to leave.
Yes, we got a nice elevator. How'd you get your way up here? You not even sure?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
I really don't.
This is right here. Let's say the second floor. We're gonna find out.
back rooms, maybe?
The two men in that video, named Cameron Allen and Dylan Breister, raped and murdered a friend of theirs and recorded the entire thing on video. Their victim was their own friend, a man named Callum Simpson, who just days before had welcomed a new daughter into this world with his wife. Callum had been at a house party that evening, and somewhere down the road, those two people in the TikTok video tied Callum up, violently and sadistic thing on their cell phones. Callum would end up dying after the abuse, and the two friends of his watched and laughed as he died. Now, you'd think that right away these two would be arrested, right? Well, Cameron Allen was arrested, so was Dylan, but Cameron Allen was released almost immediately on some sort of bail agreement, and he was photographed at a protest just a few days later, holding up a sign that called for people to be decapitated. Keep in mind, this was just a few days. Now, thankfully, these two have just been sentenced to prison time for murder, but it still won't bring back Callum Simpson, and now his children will have to grow up without their real father. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast that I co-host with my wife, Courtney, Murder in America. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Let's talk about the 2-year-old who lost his life at Disney World after a gator attacked him. So here we have 2-year-old Lane Graves. He and his family were from Nebraska, and in 2016, they traveled down to Florida to go to Disney World. On June 15th at around 8 o'clock, the family heads down to Seven Seas Lagoon, where they're screening Zootopia. A little bit about this lagoon. It was man-made, and they had always had an issue of stray gators getting in the water and staying there. On this specific day, at least 2 people had told employees that they had seen a gator in the lagoon area, and they did nothing, or it was too late, as one of them came even an hour before the attack happened. So Lane is on the beach playing around, building sandcastles and such, in just inches of water, and when he bends down to get more, a gator comes rushing up out of the water and grabs him by his head. Lane's dad sees it happen and he rushes over, trying to pry Lane's head out of the gator's jaws. Unfortunately, he can't get Lane free, and the gator drags him further out into deeper water. Witnesses say that they saw the gator 20 miles from shore with the boy's feet sticking out from the water. The next day, Lane's body would be found with bites all over him, and experts would go on to call it a predatory attack. They'd also go on to say that they're certain that they tracked down the gator that did this and euthanized it. At the time, the only signs posted were no swimming signs. Now they've posted these signs. Lane's family chose not to sue, and in 2021, 5 years after the attack, in that time, 250 gators had been removed from Disney properties.
Just the way you are. That's your song.
The happy couple
Disney
left
has to
the
do better.
reception under a canopy of sparklers.
On their beginning of the golf cart ride, she said, "I wish this night could go on forever." The best night of her life.
Sam and Eric.
Just a few hours after the wedding ended, the bride would be dead. On April 28, 2023, this woman, Samantha Miller, married her favorite person in the world, Eric Hutchinson. The two had dated for a very long time and were super excited to finally tie the knot. So after months of preparation, the two finally got married in April of 2023. It was a beautiful ceremony and procession according to everyone who attended, and the couple was sent off with this amazing sparkler display. But just moments after leaving the wedding in a low-speed vehicle, they were struck from behind by a driver speeding in another car. Unfortunately, it was a devastating crash, and shortly after the crash, Samantha Miller would be pronounced dead on her own wedding night. The driver of the other vehicle was Jamie Lee Komorowski. Jamie had been speeding 65 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, and her blood alcohol level was 3 times over the legal limit. It was her reckless driving that ended Samantha Miller's life. Eerily, Jamie's Instagram is still up, and her last post, posted 4 days before the accident, said, "Did someone say tequila?" I mean, it's just disturbing. This is obviously a horrific, horrific story, and I hope that there's justice at the end of the day, and that Jamie gets used to the inside of a prison cell. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife, Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
People need to learn to stop drinking and driving, man. It's not worth the risk. Like her own wedding, they were the happiest day of her life, and that happened. I just don't get why people do it. Truly.
Only 1% of people can finish this video. The last one is too scary. This girl's dog came alive.
Well,
Keep it right thing.
Supposedly, you can see if your phone is being spied on by clicking share, sliding all the way down, clicking more. And if you see this, delete it immediately. This girl's mom and dad wasn't home. So who was this?
Hello? Katie. Katie, help me. Help us. Dad? Turn around. What? What is going on?
Only 1% of people can do this. None of you can completely spell your name one word at a time in the comments below without being interrupted. First person to do it wins. This is the most disturbing thing AI has ever said.
But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I will still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
The lies that Disney tells to avoid traumatizing children. Pocahontas. She was 10 years old.
Oh, way younger than I thought.
And he was 27.
They don't say that in the movie.
She called him father. Sleeping Beauty. It is based on a story where a married king finds a sleeping princess. And the princess gave birth to a pair of twins while she was sleeping. The Little Mermaid. The prince married another. And the Little Mermaid turned into Seafoam.
Come again? These Disney stories, man. They have some dark lore to them. We're gonna have to check that out. Expeditiously. That's an edit, man. We see through this. We're expert level.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. Number 1, the black market. The black market is something of an urban legend in common society, but it's very, very real. And did you know if you have enough money and access to the black market, you can purchase a slave for as little as $90,000? And while we're on the topic, number 2, slavery. Now, you think of slavery, you think of times in the past that are long gone now, thankfully, right? Wrong. Today, it's been estimated that there are about 30 million slaves on Earth right now, which is the most that there have ever been. And that to me is crazy. Number 3, the Challenger. Now, we all remember the absolute tragedy that was the Challenger exploding. But if you don't know, here's a quick rundown. The Challenger was a space shuttle that was taking off carrying a couple of passengers who were able to be a part of a space mission. But the thing is, a couple of the passengers included were normal people, like a teacher. And the taking off of the Challenger was going to be a publicized event on TV. Millions of people were tuned in to watch this space shuttle take off, and it did, and then it malfunctioned and blew up in the sky. And everyone saw it. And if that wasn't dark enough, listen to this. It's been confirmed that the people in the Challenger were still alive after it exploded. And the only reason they died was due to the impact when it came back down to the earth below. That one was rough, and I'm sorry I keep ruining your guys' days with these facts, but that's why.
This is the true story.
That's crazy.
In the 1950s, there was a woman named Tess Tickle, who was a dentist in Ohio. One day after work, she had discovered her husband having an affair with their neighbor. But before I continue, I advise you to check if your phone is being spied on. Save this video, click here, then here, and if you see this, delete it immediately. Now, Tess was angry and heartbroken, but she didn't react. She just told him to pack his bags and leave. Around 7 months later, her husband knocked on the door, begging and asking her to fix his toothache. You see, he didn't have good insurance, and he knew that she used to fix his cavities for free. That's when Tess looked at him and smiled. She said, "Sure, meet me in my office tomorrow night." The next night, she put him under anesthesia. When her ex-husband finally woke up, he realized all his teeth were gone, and Tess was no longer there to be found. The next couple of years, men and women who are unloyal to their partners started reporting waking up to a dark figure who puts them to sleep and steals all their teeth. When police started to investigate, it led them to a cave in the forest. Then, they saw something disturbing. Type part 2 if you want to hear what happens next.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. Champagne sales are down 15% in 2024, and multiple champagne executives have said that people are just not celebrating as much. This dog went in for a teeth cleaning and was spayed instead. These astronauts were only supposed to be in space for 8 days and now have to stay in space until next year because of new safety concerns. A new study came out and said that when Barbie learned what a gynecologist was, millions of other people did as well. It was recently revealed that this US woman who was tied to a tree in the middle of the forest in India tied herself to it. New research is suggesting that mayonnaise may help us develop perfect nuclear fusion. Remote work is to blame for Google's struggles with AI, according to the former CEO. This man was given 40 sausage rolls for 40 years of service at his job. This woman in her 70s was fired from Home Depot after failing to stop a customer from using a suspicious card to spend over $5,000 in fraudulent charges.
These are 8
How is she gonna stop that?
That will probably keep you up at night. If you smell burnt toast and there's nothing actually burning, you are most probably having a stroke. If you have 5 brothers, one of you will go to 5 funerals, while another won't see even one. If you shiver randomly, that means a ghost passed near or through you. There are 2 days that don't last 24 hours. The one of your birth and the one of your death. In the original Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf forced her to eat her grandma. You've never actually seen your face. Only photos and reflections. People who fall in love lose an average of 2 friends each. By the time you reach the age of 18, on average, you have 3,300 weekends left in your life. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for Party 11.
We learned some new stuff today.
You don't know about. In 1991, a decomposing woman was found hanging from a shower in a New Mexico motel. Despite an image of her being found in the room, she and the man in the photo remain unidentified to this day. But her first name is believed to be Becca, thanks only to an anonymous tip given to police in 2021. In 2011, Tokyo officials went to congratulate the oldest man in the city on his 111th birthday. But upon entering the man's home, they instead found his mummified remains sprawled over his bed. He had been dead for more than 30 years, and his family was still collecting the pension money he was receiving. Tennessee man James Washington was always the prime suspect of a 1995 murder. But there is never sufficient evidence to charge him that was until 2012, when he was having a heart attack and confessed to the murder since he believed he was about to die. But Washington ended up making a full recovery, and was convicted based on this confession, which he later tried to take back.
Scientific fact? That's actually wild. You confess the truth in the end thinking, you know, it's all about to be over, then try to recant it because you survived. Man, that's a diabolical liar right there.
About each zodiac sign. Tauruses are the clumsiest. An insurance policy expert that analyzed damage claims found that Tauruses made up the majority of those cases. However, Leos caused the most damage in terms of dollar value, even more than the Tauruses.
Wow.
Leos are the worst drivers. A car share service analyzed hundreds of thousands of users and found that Leos were the most likely to get traffic tickets. On the other hand, Aries were the safest drivers, making up the least amount of traffic violations from that same study. A survey from Career Builder found that Tauruses, Leos, Scorpios, and Cancers were the most likely to make over $100,000 a year. And that same study found that Aquarians and Capricorns were the most likely to make less than $35,000 per year.
Most terrifying urban legends from around the world. Once there was a police officer investigating a series of strange accidents, including car crashes, house fires, and even people who became aggressive with their loved ones seemingly out of nowhere. But after he got photos of these accidents, he realized they all had one thing in common. The same man was found in all of these photos. And the most disturbing part is his face is upside down. This turned out to be the urban legend of the man with the upside down face. He looks like a normal man, except his face is the wrong way, with his mouth at the top and his eyes at the bottom. This creature feeds off of people's negative emotions like grief, terror, and misery, making these emotions more intense until you can't stop yourself from doing something terrible. And the worst part is he's completely invisible to us, appearing only in photos. So let's just hope that he's not anywhere near us right now. Follow for more stories.
Upside down man. Looks like he caused a lot of freaking... He was feeding off a lot of pain, man. Any truth to that theory? I might have to go down that rabbit hole one day.
facts that can one day save your life. If your hair suddenly stands up, run for cover because you're about to be hit by lightning. If a tornado ever looks like it's not moving, run or take cover, because it is actually moving towards you. If a service dog approaches you without its owner, follow them and do it quickly because you can save someone else's life. The more colourful the animal is, the more likely it's poisonous and you should never touch it.
This is why you should always lock your front doors. A kid living with both of his parents decided to watch a movie for their family weekly movie night. He then gets up to use the restroom. As he's in the restroom, he sees all of the power in the house cuts off, and then he hears 2 loud thumps. He locks the bathroom door and hears heavy objects being dragged across the hallway. The kid, freaking out, runs out of the bathroom and runs into the restroom. Once he is inside the room, he locks the door. As he locks the door, he jumps in bed and acts like he's asleep and hopes that this person who is in the house will ignore a child sleeping. He closes his eyes and hears the door creak at the same time. He squints his eyes and sees a man with no eyes dragging the bodies of both of his parents. The man dragging his parents sits his mom's dead body in a chair facing him, and then sets the dad's body on the floor facing up. It was almost like whoever was in the house who killed them wanted him to see it. He then sees the man writing something on the wall and then climbs under his bed. He laid there for hours knowing that if he moved a muscle he would end up just like his parents. He finally built up enough courage to read the wall, and the writing on the wall said, "I know you're awake."
This will make you never want to go into space. A man named Michael was alone in space with no other humans for thousands of miles. But then he heard static coming from his radio, and Michael had a gut-wrenching feeling. Hello, this is Michael Stanton of the Rising Dawn. Do you read me? Over. A breathless voice then replied, "Thank God. I didn't know how much longer I could survive out here. What's going on? Where are you communicating from?" The voice then said back, "I'm right outside your ship, Stanton. Open the hatch door and let me in." Michael's heart rate quickened. He found the strength to turn off the radio, and then he heard it. "Let me in," the voice repeated, but it wasn't like before. It sounded demonic. And Michael never opened the door. Everyone back home told him he could not have possibly heard those sounds in a space vacuum. But Michael still knew that thing was still out there.
That's based off an alien story or something? I thought you couldn't hear sounds in space.
Never play this game. This is the stairs game, and it's not for the weak. It's a sinister ritual and is extremely dangerous, and I don't recommend playing it. But if you do, please be very careful. You can play this game anytime during the day, but it's better to do it at night. The only things you need is a blindfold and a set of stairs. And don't worry about your staircase because it doesn't matter the amount of stairs you have. To begin the game, you have to be on the lowest step and say these words out loud. "I come before you today, Lucifer. Open the gates of your kingdom for me." You have to repeat those words 6 times in order to be blessed and begin the game. Now put on your blindfold and begin going up the stairs. Count every stair one by one and never forget the number you get. And then repeat it going down the stairs. Keep doing this until you have more stairs going down than up. You would then start sweating and hearing whispering voices, which means you are in the underworld. You would then hear a very creepy demonic voice from an entity asking you, "What do you want?" You then tell him, and then when you complete the game, you would get whatever you asked for. But here's the thing, if you fall at any point while playing this game, you will be completely stuck in the underworld forever.
Man, I never played any of those game seekers, bro. That game sounds like it's just it's a nightmare fuel waiting to happen. Who wants to go to the underworld anyway? That's something you would avoid. No, I don't think so. That's the edit. Call them out when you see it.
Strange phobias of celebrities.
Johnny Depp, horrifying, fear of clowns. We've seen him on screen working in mask, but he is actually terrified of clowns. Katy Perry, nyctophobia, fear of darkness. She has admitted that she sleeps with the lights on because she thinks a lot of evil things go on in the dark. Kendall Jenner, trypophobia, fear of tiny holes. She says that she can't even look at those little holes that gives her anxiety. Madonna, astrophobia, fear of thunderstorm. She is so afraid of thunderstorm that she doesn't even step out of her house when it's raining.
Oh.
Tyra Banks, delphinophobia, fear of dolphins. She has been afraid of dolphins since she was 8 years old, because of dreams where she is in a pool and dolphins keep bumping into her.
Do not scan another QR code until you've heard this. Banks and regulators have issued a warning over the rise of QR code scams that are tricking people into stealing their financial information. Now, there are many ways that they are doing this, but one of the most unsuspecting methods is that they are sticking fake QR codes over real ones that you would normally scan to pay for things like food or parking. But once scanned, it brings you to a website that's designed to capture your credentials or download malware. And it's not just sticker scams, they're also being sent via email to corporations and workplaces, where to view a file, you need to scan this QR code. And while this is also affecting the US, in the UK alone, QR code scams have more than doubled since last year alone. And that is why...
Creepy photos that can't be explained.
Be vigilant.
This photo was taken in the basement of a house that was for sale a few years ago. The photo was taken by a realtor because he wanted to show his clients the house. Everything looks completely normal in this house until you look at the left corner. What appears to be a fairly transparent woman is standing towards the bottom of the stairs going to the basement. The realtor insists that nobody was there when he took the photo, but the strangest part about this photo lies in the backstory of this house. The house was previously owned by a man and his wife, but unfortunately the wife passed away, so the husband decided to sell. Another reason why the man wanted to sell his house is because after his wife passed, he kept hearing strange noises in the middle of the night while home alone. What do you guys think? Who or what was captured on camera? Like and follow for more.
Maybe a squatter? And that's that picture caught her.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. An average human walks past 36 murderers in their lifetime. There's future biotech technology. When injected into prisoners, it makes them feel they served a 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. The blue whale ejaculates over 40 gallons of sperm when mating. Only 10% enters the female. And you always wonder why the sea tasted salty. If you block your nose when you sneeze, you can rupture a blood vessel in your neck that can make you bleed to death. People that are left-handed die 3 years faster than people that are right-handed. Watching horror films can burn up to 200 calories. You may be living the last year of your life without being aware of it. You are always 6 minutes away from death. Breathing just resets the clock. There's a lot more, like for part 9.
I never thought about it like that, especially about the breathing part. Puts things in perspective. Like, we really are 6 minutes away, but if you set the clock, it's like we're on a timer, man. That's why time is valuable.
I think this could be the strangest disappearance I have ever heard. This 19-year-old Jason Jolkowski, and in 2001, he was living at home in Omaha, Nebraska with his family, very normal life. And it was a summer day, June 13th, where something very disturbing took place right off the street. Jason wasn't supposed to work this day, but he got called into work, and it was a place called Fazoli's. It's kind of just like a fast casual Italian place, but the problem was he didn't have his car that day. He had no transportation. His manager, who made a couple of calls, and he arranged for one of the co-workers to go and pick up Jason at the nearby high school. For context, it's a very short walk from his house. It's quite literally only a few blocks. Problem was, Jason never showed. He had somehow completely vanished during this walk. He only could have gone so many ways. So one of the most logical was that he was going to take Bedford. It's a street with a lot of foot traffic, so people assumed that somebody would have seen him. An alternate option where maybe he took a couple of back roads to get to the high school. But again, what's known is that he never made it, and no one has ever found what happened to him, and nobody saw or heard what went down. Looking for more of a deep dive on this story, I'm probably going to cover it on The Sinister.
This mother murdered her 3 kids during a psychosis episode. On January 24th, 2023, 32-year-old Lindsay Clancy took the life of her 5-year-old daughter Cora, 3-year-old son Dawson, and 7-month-old baby Callan. On this day, at 4:53 p.m., Lindsay asked her husband Patrick to pick up some dinner at a restaurant not too far from the house. About an hour later, Patrick returned home and noticed that there was absolute silence. He called for Lindsay's name, and after no response, he went into the bedroom and noticed that the window was open. This is where things get really sad. Patrick went to the basement and found all 3 kids with exercise cords around their necks. Both Cora and Dawson passed away in the hospital, but baby Callan passed away 3 days later due to his injuries. Lindsay's defense attorney claims that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis, which led her to break from reality and murder her children. But the state attorney argues that these killings were premeditated and that Lindsay sent her husband to get food on purpose so that she can commit these crimes. However, Dr. Caney Steve, who is a board member of Postpartum Support International, clarified that women can completely break with reality during violent episodes. She also said that women who are a few weeks postpartum should be aware of the symptoms of psychosis, which is usually hallucinating. Lindsay was charged with 2 counts of murder, 3 counts of strangulation and assault, and battery with a deadly weapon. And get this.
Ooh, that's a chilling story, man.
Did you know these facts?
Serious
This loading
thing.
symbol is actually called a throbber. In the United States, 75% of truck owners do not use their truck for towing or going off-road. 2 million tires were intentionally dumped off the coast of Florida in the 1970s as an attempt to stimulate growth of new coral reefs. Miracle Village in Florida is a small town where more than 50% of the residents are registered offenders. When you sleep, your brain gets washed with spinal fluid. More people have walked on the moon than blocked a LeBron James dunk. Buzz Aldrin's dad never accepted that he was the number 2 man on the moon instead of number 1. His dad even tried to get USPS to change their commemorative stamp from first man on the moon to first men on the moon and failed. Big Bird looks different in every country. This is Big Bird in the Netherlands, this is Big Bird in Portugal, and this is Big Bird in Brazil.
What?
This is why you should never...
Did y'all know that Elmo had different big birds? That's about to imagine, bro. Kid in America, man, watching a different version of Elmo. That's gonna make them freaking go crazy, man, when they see that Big Bird wrong. I never knew that.
Ever drink tap water, you will be shocked by the results.
Okay. Let's see what's under that. Need to see this.
40x. 100x. 400x.
Facts that will mess with your perception
I never
of
drink
time,
tap.
Part 1. Woolly mammoths were still around while Egyptians were building the pyramids. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the Aztec Empire was founded. George Washington never knew dinosaurs existed. The Nintendo company was founded while Jack the Ripper was still on the loose.
What? Really? Damn, Nintendo's that old?
This is one of the creepiest urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. So for like 30 years in Maine, there was this urban legend that there was a man who had lived in the woods for decades and would break into people's houses as they slept. Also, all of this is coming from this week's episode, which is about terrifying true urban legends and is part of our Dark Summer series. This legend basically started because in this one community in Maine, people would wake up in the morning to find that their fridges were empty. And so they all started joking with each other that there was someone breaking into their homes at night and just taking food from their fridge. And it was a huge joke until someone put up a security camera one night. And this is the video that was captured, and before you say anything, I don't know why it took them so long to put up security cameras. Everyone was shocked, not only because the rumor was true, but because this didn't look like a hermit that lived in the woods. It looked like it could have been one of their neighbors. But the crazy thing is, no one knew who this guy was. They put up flyers with his face on it, and no one in all of Maine recognized him. And it wasn't until almost 20 years later that they actually figured out who it was. His name was Christopher Knight, and he was a hermit living in the woods of Maine for 27 years. But here's the thing, it's not like he was stealing valuables from the neighbors. He was only stealing food, and he only took what he needed. So what do you think? Was he a bad guy? And make sure you listen to this week's episode wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, stealing is stealing. You was breaking into people's houses, man, and taking food. I don't think anybody is gonna feel bad for him. Hey, that's my thoughts on that. Urban legends, man. There's always truth to them. I learned that.
Here are some facts that you probably didn't know that one day, could save your life. If your pupils don't dilate to the same size, there is a very real chance you have brain damage. A motorcycle helmet is stronger than a skull. Tea bags actually stop bleeding. They contain a chemical called tannic, which naturally clots your blood. If you're in the wilderness and desperately need water, you can take a plastic bag and hold it against the branch of a willow tree, and it will condensate drinkable water into the bag. Never put tools or heavy objects on the back seat or dash of your car. If you get into a crash, you might survive the collision, but these items could be the cause of your death. If you see vultures circling above you, chances are there's a predator nearby and it's about to make a kill. Grapefruits can actually mess with prescription medication, and the most common of these is birth control. So stay away, because trust me, you do not have the time for a grapefruit baby. If a canker sore in your mouth or tongue isn't going away after 2 weeks, you might want to get it checked out because it very well could be oral cancer.
I walked out of the theater after seeing Saw X and decided I need more. So here's 3 horror movies you need to watch, especially if you like Saw. First up is this absolutely insane movie called 31, about 5 carnival workers who get kidnapped by crazy killer clowns and forced to play a deadly game called 31. If I had to describe this movie in 2 words, it would be weird and insane. And I mean both as compliments. Next up is a movie I've been waiting to talk about, Dead Silence, which was made by the writers, directors, and producers of Saw. It's about a town with a unique urban legend of a doll maker turned serial killer. It's actually a crime that it has 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Please watch this and let me know if you agree with me or the critics. I really need to know. And the last movie is also the one that's most similar to Saw, because The Collector was supposed to be John Kramer's origin story, but now it's about a different serial killer who turns different places into traps and collects victims from each of the traps that he makes. I have a whole video dedicated to the Collector series as well, so follow for more.
Fun fact,
I
the
don't watch
webcam
scary
was
movies.
invented so researchers could see how much coffee was in the break room coffee pot at the University of Cambridge, and it was also the first thing to ever go viral. The computer laboratory at the University of Cambridge was a pretty large building with multiple floors, and all the researchers shared one break room with only one coffee pot, meaning they'd often go for a long walk to get a cup of coffee, only to find an empty coffee pot. So 2 researchers set up a small camera pointed at the coffee machine and hooked it up to the laboratory's local network and wrote a program called X Coffee, which allowed the researchers to check on how much coffee was in the coffee pot from the comfort of their offices. When the internet went live to the public in 1993, X Coffee was added to the World Wide Web and went viral. Thousands of people would tune in every day to check on how much coffee was in the coffee pot. They even got an email from Japan asking them to leave a light on in the break room overnight so the coffee pot could be viewed in different time zones.
People are convinced that this is a skinwalker. Listen carefully. Skinwalkers have the ability to mimic the sounds of a human voice, and they have been known to portray themselves as crows. So, could this be a skinwalker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, I did a video on my YouTube channel about skinwalker sightings, so if you want to see that video, link in bio.
Was that a skinwalker, Seekers? I'm gonna have to say yes. I think it was. It was saying it to me, in my perspective, it said, come on. And it said it like a couple of times. I don't know if it's mimicking someone did it hear someone say that, but that's the first time I think I've seen a crow say like come on. I don't know if they have that ability or not, so tell me down below what do you guys think.
But are mermaids evil? Well, there's apparently different species of mermaids, each residing in different areas around the world, sirens being one of the most evil and malevolent species. I always think of the sirens from Harry Potter when I think of these. Sirens can lure you in with visual and audio manipulation. They utilize songs to put you in a trance and bring you close enough to them so that you can see their true form. Usually they look frightening like this and have really long, sharp teeth. And this is when they kidnap you and keep you forever. And apparently a lot of people in the Caribbean area have experiences of being abducted by mermaids. I was watching this girl's video about how to make a deal properly with a mermaid, and apparently if you want something like to be healed or to be wealthy,
Usually a mermaid will want something in return. It can be something as simple as salt all the way up to a child or a relative. Mermaids apparently have the ability to keep you breathing underwater, so it's not that they're drowning the person you give them, it's just that they're holding them hostage underwater. But if they're feeling nice, they'll let you see them once a year.
His name was Max Logan, and at 13 years old, he discovered a device that cost only $14 and could create pure energy. Called it an electromagnetic harvester, and now people don't know what happened to him. I searched it myself, and some people say that he's missing, other people said that he passed away with his mother in a car crash. Creating pure energy for only $14 is insane, so people think that the government came after him. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
You guys ever wake up in the middle of the night and feel like something's watching you? This guy woke up in the middle of the night and actually caught this thing staring at him on camera. I'm gonna roll the clip right now.
I still feel like there was something definitely in that corner, just like vanished though.
I asked some of my haunted dolls if they had any advice for me while I was meeting the actual Annabelle doll today. Here's what they said.
How's she communicating with them?
You're not afraid of the dark, are you? Don't be afraid. I will show you where I play hide and seek. Do you want to play hide and seek? You hide, and I'll find you. You're going to die
It claims that the show was inspired by events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land. Children there were isolated from the others and placed in dark rooms. But apparently 4 of those children died on the same day, inspiring the Teletubbies. Lala apparently had facial disfigurement and was isolated for 5 years, and that inspired the Teletubby Lala. Toy was a deaf, facially disfigured kid who was tied to a fence outside and had gotten frostbitten from the cold. This inspired Tinky Winky. Donka, who was starved and was very, very sick, would lay in his own vomit for days, inspired Dipsy. And finally, Paulina, who had fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspired Poe. But you won't believe the reason they were called the Teletubbies. You see, the children's main source of entertainment in their rooms were their TVs. They were as small as a small iPad. Sometimes when they heard their toys was going to be confiscated, they would hide them in their mouths. And they had just found out that the institution was going to get rid of the TVs. And they didn't want that, and they couldn't hide the TVs in their mouths. So one of them had the great idea to hide them in their stomachs, because that's the only place they could fit. Mind you, these kids are a little bit not all the way there. So they came up with a plan to rip their insides out in order to fit the TVs inside and hide them. They tried it, and the next morning, the caregiver walked in on all 4 children, dead.
This is the freaky story of the Lemon Glitch Girl. So this girl is a cook in a restaurant or a cafe or a hotel. I'm not really sure what this place is. She was chopping a lemon in the kitchen, and then she picked one of the slices and she cut it in half. But then when she picked it up again, it wasn't cut in half. She is now realizing that there is something very, very off. She went back to get the tapes, and she saw that she indeed did cut the lemon in half.
Yeah.
She started talking about this story on her TikTok, and then she got banned. Then she went to her mom's TikTok and repurposed the same story, and then she got banned on her mom's account as well. Now the whole internet is calling it the Matrix glitch. I don't want to give it that name, but I did see with my own eyes that she did cut the lemon in half. What do you guys think happened?
You saw her cut it, man. She cut the lemon in 4K and she went on 2 separate TikTok accounts to try to reveal the truth, man. We seeking it out and they banned her accounts twice. That's some iffy stuff right there, man. Tap in with us, man. You guys gonna learn the truth. That's weird. We definitely saw her cut
The
it.
UK's heaviest man, Jason Holton, has just passed away 1 week before his 34th birthday. His heartbroken mother said that he began overeating as a teenager after his father passed away, and at one point he was eating roughly 10,000 calories a day. Over the years, his weight increased to the point where his legs could no longer hold him, and after becoming bedridden, he didn't leave his room for a staggering 6 months. He said he would cry every day because he felt like he had imprisoned himself. At that point, he weighed around 317 kg, or for those who in the US, 700 pounds. In 2020, his organs began to shut down, and he had to be airlifted by a crane from his mother's 3rd floor flat by a team of more than 30 firemen and engineers.
Crazy.
When he got to the hospital, doctors said that they wanted to send him to London Zoo to get a heart scan because the only machine big enough to hold him was used by vets for very large animals. Luckily, thanks to his treatment at hospital, his condition began to stabilize. But 4 years later, he was rushed to hospital yet again. But this time, doctors said that they couldn't save him and he had about a week left to live. The coroner's report stated on Tuesday he died from organ failure and obesity at only 33 years old.
We need Morbid. What the hell are those, man? Said there was a truth home of the angels? What do you guys think about that one, Seekers? Edit.
This is
Call them out when I see it.
Follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. Interacting really helps.
We need to talk about what happened to Sally Stitch. Sally was a girl from a small village in the middle of the mountains. People described her as shy and awkward, and there was one group of kids who would always bully her. One day as Sally was walking home, the bullies found her and started throwing rocks at her. But then Sally did something that shocked them. She pointed at one of the bullies and said, "You will die in 3 days." At first they thought this must be a joke, but 3 days later that boy started unexpectedly throwing up blood. The doctors couldn't find out what caused it, and he passed away exactly when Sally predicted. Soon everyone knew about Sally's ability and it really scared them. So a group of villagers lured Sally into an abandoned mine, and once no one could see her or hear her scream, they tied her to a chair and took out a sewing needle. They stitched Sally's lips together so she could never foretell another death. Then they left her in the mine and sealed the door closed. It's said that since Sally passed away alone in the dark and unable to scream, she now haunts anyone who knows what really happened to her. And once you hear her story, you have to pass it on to someone else. Or she'll appear by your bed with a needle to make sure you never speak again. So send this story to someone else and follow for more.
Insane true stories that you won't believe. This man right here is named Henry Tandy. And Henry was the most decorated British soldier during World War I, meaning that he had the most medals and honors. But that's not why he's known today. On a fall day in 1918, Henry was propped up on a war trench just like this one, scanning the battlefield before the day came to an end. As he was looking across the field, he noticed a shadowy figure walking towards him through the mist. He grabbed his rifle because he wasn't sure if this guy was on his side or the enemy. And as the figure got closer, Henry realized that this guy was severely wounded. And he had a German uniform, meaning that he was indeed the enemy. The wounded soldier kept walking slowly towards Henry, not knowing the danger he had gotten himself into. Henry aimed his rifle at the man and prepared to shoot. But as the German realized what was about to happen, he didn't try to run away. He just stood there and accepted his fate. For some reason, Henry just couldn't find the strength to shoot this guy. The soldier didn't even have a weapon, so Henry lowered his rifle and let him escape. That soldier was Adolf Hitler.
What? Man. That's a bizarre coincidence, man. It's like it's things in the universe, man. Some people, when they don't follow up with something, man, that one moment changed everybody's lives in the course of history. That's scary.
Interesting facts you didn't know. The last one will shock you. There are only 2 people alive who know the recipe of Coca-Cola, and they aren't allowed to travel on the same plane in case it crashes. Did you know that TikTok knows who has a crush on you? Your secret admirer is the second person that appears when you click on share than WhatsApp. Research shows that most dog owners would rather hang out with their dogs instead of other people. There is no single comment under this video with 0 likes. People who like the smell of gasoline, nail polish, and acetone have a very strong tendency to do drugs. Before passing away, Albert Einstein said a few words in German. The only person to listen was a nurse who didn't speak German. If you comment evil, you will unlock a new secret TikTok emoji. Remember to use the brackets with small letter. There is a species of jellyfish that is biologically immortal. This means that it can theoretically live forever as long as it doesn't get eaten or injured. The world's oldest piece of gum is 9,000 years old and it was found in Sweden. And now, before the last fact, support us by pressing the plus button for more interesting content every day. The probability of you drinking a glass of water with molecules that have passed through a dinosaur is almost 100%.
Damn, what the hell? We drink a dinosaur? Booty water? What the hell? More people need to know about that, bro. Drink a dinosaur booty water, man. So this water right here.
Okay, let's do it. Yes, y'all, my blinds are closed. Today we are going to talk about the movie The Incredibles and how it connects to today's society. Now, as we know, The Incredibles is about a superhuman family that tries to save the world. In the beginning, it was just 2 of them. They were using their powers, helping people, saving the world, until the government and the news media started to hate them. They were supposedly taking away the jobs of police and firefighters and all that. Until they made it illegal to be a superhero. He hated his life. He tried to be domestic, he tried to have a job, he got married, he had kids and all of that. He tried to live the regular life as a human. But it just wasn't it. He knew he could be more. Now, why do I say this? We all are living just like Bob. We have so much greatness that we can create, but we want to sit at a desk. Don't believe me? So it is said over 90% of our DNA is junk. Because it's not activated, we don't use it. It's just sitting in our bodies just doing nothing, huh? What if the food that we eat and the air that we breathe is constantly blocking us from those powers? So we can't be like the Incredible. Y'all have to understand that there are things put in place to keep you at the specific level in your life that you are right now. You are so much more than trying to memorize the front register. Do more and be more. It shouldn't just be school, work, family, die. They need things to keep running the way it is. They want us to be just like Bob when he was working and he was over it and he had them powers and he didn't get to use them. Because it messes up what they want and they have. It works out for them if we're just docile and we don't pay attention to things. Everything will be okay if you just do everything their way. Don't do anything extraordinary, just be normal and don't do nothing but work.
Preach.
And then groom your kids, take them to school and make them work just like you. Don't be like this. Don't use your powers. Be in the system. But y'all be safe.
She was spitting though, man. I was like, sometimes, because that's what I kind of think too, man. It's like we just conditioned to, go to school, get a job, start a family, that's it. But I mean, you can do more. Obviously, you can be more. You should strive for more. So she was hitting that now. Like, I agree with her on that.
You go to London, don't even think about using your phone on the streets anymore. In recent years, there has been a massive surge in phone thefts. People will be waiting for the bus or just walking around using their phones. When these guys dressed in all black will come up behind them on a bike, snatch their phone out of their hands and quickly accelerate off.
What?
And this is not like 1 or 2 cases a day. There was almost 91,000 phones stolen from Londoners in 2022, which is an average of 248 a day, or 1 stolen every 6 seconds. Oh my lord. And it's believed to only have got worse since then.
Man.
Nearly 70% of all thefts in London were related to mobile phones. Only 2% of the stolen phones were actually recovered, and young people are disproportionately the targets of these crimes. And that is why...
Shocking true story about a 200-year-old mummified monk that is still alive.
Nah.
A 200-year-old mummified monk has been found in Mongolia. Although the monk is mummified, reports say he's not actually dead, but in a deep meditative state. There is so much curiosity about this that people were trying to smuggle and sell him on the black market. Although they're not totally sure his identity, they believe he was a teacher that told his students he was going to die and to dig him up in 30 years.
He was still alive? He was in the deep, they said state?
What, don't know they exist?
Sharks have no fucking clue that camels exist. And
oh boy, do I have a story for you. So like fun fact, actually mildly disturbing fact.
Camels are one of those animals that have no business swimming but do it anyway, and they're unnecessarily good at it. And an animal whose home address is a desert being able to pull up on you in the ocean is one of the biggest you I do what I want moves from nature.
True.
There's a type of dromedary camel called karai that are so comfortable with water that they'll cross rivers and even shallow stretches of the ocean as they look for food. And that's because these overgrown water donkeys love eating mangroves on islands offshore, so much that they'll travel for hours to get it. There's actually a pretty good chance that at least one shark will see one of these sand-loving hump jockeys out in the ocean. He told his friends. They did not believe it. Moral of this video. If you're ever on a boat off the coast of a country like Algeria, you better be prepared to say what's up to a camel.
You never know. The more you know, man, about nature.
Why have scientists done this? Scientists have successfully brought back a 48,000-year-old zombie virus.
What the?
Have to go to Mars yet.
Why?
Now trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video because this could actually change the world. So not just that, they also identified 13 new viruses in the same permafrost, each genetically different from each other. The amoeba virus that they have successfully woken up from its slumber has been brought to a point where it is now capable of infecting other living organisms. Or another living organism! And not just that, the lead scientist herself said this, that these reanimating viruses are potentially a significant threat to public health. And researchers have warned that this is just the tip of the iceberg, saying that the increasing warming of the Earth will thaw the remainder of the Siberian permafrost, revealing nasty pathogens from melting organic matter, releasing them potentially into the world. So trust me, send this video to literally anyone you know because they need to see it. Yeah, Elon!
Why do these scientists, why are they trying to bring back those type of things, man? They're like frozen. They're supposed to be gone for a reason, and we seeing they bring them back. They studying them. That's how it starts in all the freaking apocalypse movies and things like that, man. A scientist just wants to study it, and it gets out of control. We've seen this happen 1,000 times. They just don't listen, man. That's crazy. They need to be stopped, bro. We gotta share this video with everybody, man. People need to be more aware. I had no idea they was doing that. None.
Fascinating as fuck. In the year 1996, Ukraine handed over all their nuclear weapons to Russia in exchange for a guarantee to never be threatened or invaded. In 2009, Burger King ran a marketing campaign called the Whopper Sacrifice. Basically, they give you a free Whopper for deleting 10 of your friends off Facebook. Facebook actually had to shut down the campaign because people were getting offended that they were unadded for a Whopper. In the rural homestead communities of the early 1900s, if a mother was unable to breastfeed her baby, a goat nurse would be brought in to feed the baby, saving its life. A Japanese company has recently started selling cakes, but canned and out of a vending machine. They come packaged in what looks like a Coke can, and all you have to do is pop off the lid and dig in. This footage shows a new Japanese game show conducting an experiment to see if humans would fall for a lanternfish's trap. Ethiopia has a totally different calendar to the rest of the world, meaning they're 7 to 8 years behind us. Current year in Ethiopia, 2014.
What? Need to go to Ethiopia, bro. We're going back in time.
This is really strange. This ex-Marine says he believes he may have just stumbled upon a serial killer crime after strangely finding multiple women's high heels in a very remote location in western Colorado. Levi was out in the desert four-wheeling when he needed to pee, so he goes over to this pond which he had never seen before because of its hidden location. And as he's doing his thing, he looks down and notices a woman's shoe. At first, he didn't think much of it until he saw another shoe which matched the first. He decided to walk around a little bit and he came across 5 pairs of women's shoes all along this shoreline, some of which had heels snapped off. And because they were all different sizes and types, indicating that they belonged to multiple different people, at this point, his interest was really piqued. But things got even stranger. On his walk, he noticed that just underneath the surface of the water, there were these large boulders placed all the way out into the mud. And they just so happened to be in a position where you can step on them, either to walk all the way out to this island or to a deep section of the pond. He's not sure which. Either way, he decided to walk out himself when the water was much lower than you can see in this video. And about halfway in, he sees a little piece of plastic sticking up out of the mud. It isn't long until he finds out that this little piece of plastic was actually a heel of one of the shoes he had already found. The next day, he goes back, but this time he calls friends who had sniffer dogs. And in total, they found 10 pairs of women's shoes. And they weren't just regular. All of them were very fancy dress-up heels. All of them had matching pairs, and one of them he even described as being brand new. He says that he did go to the sheriff's department but when they told him it was probably nothing, he couldn't let it go. And yesterday, he decided to post a video about this whole situation, looking for answers and help. And the part that really caught my attention is that he's never posted anything like this before. All of his previous videos were just about his epoxy floors and countertops. So if anyone does have any answers, I've tagged his page. I'll keep you guys updated as we find out more.
Which countries have the most serial killers? On average, in your lifetime, you will walk past 36 murderers / serial killers. So that actually got me thinking, which countries have the most serial killers? And of course, there's a study, and here are the results. The top 21 countries with the most serial killers, so the countries with the least are Sweden, the Netherlands, Scotland, Poland, Spain, and Hungary. Placing 15th to 11th, we have Austria, Brazil, Mexico, China, and France. Okay, now this is the top 10 countries that have produced the most serial killers. We have Russia, India, Australia, Germany, and Japan. Placing in the top 5, we have Italy with 97, Canada with 106, South Africa with 117, England with 166, and the United States with 3,204. Now say this to someone who you know lives in one of these countries because you made the list. Elon!
That's a damn shame. Why the hell we top of that lit? That many, man. What the hell is going on in America? That's an edit. Call it like we see it, man. Call them out.
Proof that we weren't alone.
Hello, my friend.
Big
Every
ass
few months
elephant?
this video is remade and circulates, and then I get tagged. The video was of Elephant Rock. It's found in Iceland. It may look like an elephant's head from this side, which is why you only show one side. The other side happens to be regular rock. But I like this. He showed an image of Zunisha, a character from One Piece. One Piece happens to be one of my favorite shows. It's basically a world with many different islands, and this island happens to be a living elephant. There's like a settlement at the top. But for an elephant, Zunisha sure has some lanky legs.
He debunks them all, man. If you see him on the screen, he's debunking it.
It is a picture of the last Neanderthal. Oh my days.
Hello, my friend. That image was created using AI. But I think it's important to note that Neanderthal were shorter than Homo sapiens. The average Neanderthal was below 5'6", or 170 centimeters. And from the archaeological evidence we have, Neanderthals went extinct around 30 to 40,000 years ago. And believe it or not, the tallest of the known human species is actually the Homo sapien.
So the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens, they're, I guess, completely different class of human. Like I said, man, you spin, bro. When he's on the screen, he will debunk everything. That's what I'm gonna guess from now on. When he's on the screen, he's gonna debunk. He's gonna show us the truth.
Did this woman chop her husband up and dump him in a suitcase? Melanie Maguire married Bill in 1999. They had 2 sons together, and from the outside it looked like they had a really good relationship. However, behind closed doors, things were not good. Melanie claimed that Bill had a gambling problem and a temper. One night in 2004, Melanie claims that Bill pushed her against a wall in an argument and hit her. She then stated that he tried to choke her. The next day, Bill was missing. Melanie contacted a divorce attorney and also filed for a restraining order. On May the 5th, 2004, some fishermen discovered a suitcase in Chesapeake Bay. Inside, they made a horrific discovery. Inside was a man's dismembered legs.
Damn.
Over the next week or 2, more suitcases were found. These contained a torso, a head, thighs, and a pelvis. It was found that the person had been shot to death. When the man was identified as Bill Maguire, Melanie said that she burst into tears. Interestingly, police found that Melanie had bought a gun 2 days before Bill's disappearance. They also found out she was having an affair. Police then discovered Bill's vehicle in Atlantic City. Melanie claims that she'd moved the vehicle as a prank. She said that he was out at a casino and she was sick of him gambling, so she moved the car. However, police found on Melanie's computer that she googled how to purchase guns illegally. She also searched how to commit murder and undetectable poisons. Rubbish bags in her house also matched the rubbish bags that Bill was wrapped in. Melanie was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, but she maintained she was not the killer. She suggested that her husband may have been killed over gambling debts. She claims that Bill had told her to buy a gun to protect herself.
Cap. The thing that always gets to me is I'm like, they do these things and then I say, why they search it up before they do it, acting like that, man, that the police doesn't like, they can't search that up, they can't find the information. That blows my mind every single time, man. It's like people with their own incompetent. You searching something up like that, you don't think that's like flagged in the system. I'm pretty sure like people think, oh, I'm on a private tab or something like that, they can't find out. No, I'm thinking if you type in certain things on the internet, it might ping or something, man. You might not see it, but they gonna keep an eye on you. Crazy. Seekers, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true one. Thank you guys for supporting me, man. Like I said, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, man, hit that post notification. Also, man, I have super things turned on, so you guys can mess with that as well. I've been seeing the growth, man. I really appreciate it. We're doing daily uploads, man. Comment down below, man, if you guys are enjoying these long daily uploads, man. I know I do. Like I said, we're growing. Going to keep on continuing to get better with each and every video. Out. Peace, YouTube.